Welcome to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Today is Thursday, December 21st, 2017, and to discuss something in regards to the Pentagon admission about their investigation into UFOs for at least 5 years, spending $22 million. That's a big deal. But for some reason, there is mentioning that compared to the United States budget in the billions, 22 million isn't anything. Well, it's a lot of money when you think about, gosh, that would look good in my bank account, $22 million. Come on now. Come on. Really? I think they put enough into it. I really do. I mean, we're talking a little over what? 4 million a year or something? Yeah. So they put something into that, I have to say. I also have to comment about something that this certain astrophysicist named Neil deGrasse Tyson. He went on CNN and just the other day, just to state that unidentified means unidentified. We don't know what we're looking at. So to call it aliens, I mean, like truly, he's throwing the decades old thing of skeptics and debunkers constantly using that you're not qualified to look at the sky. Ugh, highly disappointing there, Mr. Tyson. I mean, come on, really? Really? Did you really go there and use that same old rehash thing? You're making me think that you're on a payroll of somebody's. I can't help but to think that. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, really, dude? The Pentagon just told you. The guy in charge of the Pentagon secret black program project told you. We're pretty sure we're not alone. Oh, but Mr. Tyson has to say, oh, it's unidentified. I mean, dude, really? Yeah, it's unidentified because it's defying all means of transportation that we have in the world today, dude. Jeez, I don't know. I was looking at that and I'm like, I just cannot believe he said that. I think every debunker that's been on the government payroll has used that one. You're not qualified to look at the sky and say what you're seeing. These eyeballs. Oh, this is another one with the pilots who were filming this object, this black object. They probably got like the worst piece of footage that they could get as far as a UFO sighting is concerned because they know they have tons more. They were investigating for 5 years. You mean to tell me they couldn't get anything better than a black blob? I think there's some 10-year-olds out there who have snapped shots of UFOs that have been better than that. But the statement from Luis Elizondo, the guy that was in charge of this Pentagon Black Project, he said, millions of dollars have been put into these pilots, that filmed this so-called UFO. I'm sorry, they don't know what it is. Object that they were trained to be observers. Yeah, well, I think my eyeballs have a lot more training involved and a lot more hours on the roads of America. And I live in Chicago, so I really have to keep my eyes peeled. So, don't discredit our eyeballs just because others were trained to look for terrorists or whatnot. I mean, come on. Come on. How many times has a regular, everyday person been so observant that they've saved another person's life or stopped a thief or stopped a terrorist act? Come on, give us a break. Give us some credit. Okay, we're not all stupid. We're not all blind. We do trust our eyeballs out here. And Mr. Tyson, drop that ancient old rhetoric about no, unidentified means unidentified. Come on. And the look on his face, the way he was carrying on, I was like, really? Really? I mean, you think he was going to crack a joke next. I just, oh, hold on. Maybe that was the joke. Oh, it's unidentified. Oh, good Lord. Check out the link. I will put it up on UFOheadlinenews.com. And You be the judge of that. I just, whatever. Okay, we're moving on. Blasting off with some UFO reports. Breathe, Heidi, breathe. A black triangle sighting in Dubuque, Iowa. This occurred, kind of a blast from the past, on October 15, 2016, and in brief, the witness states silent, blended in with the background, except the 5 lights on the bottom in triangle form. Going fast, no sound or after sound. In more detail, they go on to state, I went to have a cigarette at around 9 p.m. I always look up at the night as I am fascinated with space. About halfway through my cigarette, I seen very faint red and amber-colored lights moving fast. I thought it was a plane or something. As it got overhead, I noticed the pattern of the lights were strange, and the craft itself was big for the distance from the ground it was. I don't edit these things, I just read them. Also, the surface of the craft seemed to blend in with the night sky, determined as it blocked out the stars as it passed them. Also, as fast as it was going and being overhead, I was expecting to hear the delayed sound of an aviation engine as it went out of sight behind the houses. There was never a sound, and I will never forget the incident or the shape of the craft and lights, as it took me some serious adjusting to the eyes to see the craft in the night sky. This isn't my first time seeing things that are unexplainable, both in Iowa and Illinois. After the craft left my sight and I knew I had seen another unexplained aircraft, I quickly went inside and drew a picture and couldn't believe it, as it was my first time seeing one of these, that I was able to see the shape of it. The next UFO sighting. Ooh, this is not a UFO sighting. This is an alien encounter in Gallant, Alabama. This was said to have taken place November 23rd, 2017, and in brief, they state encounter with 2 entities. The witness states, I was awoke at 4 a.m. to find myself unable to move in my bed. There was a curved screen floating above my head. The screen appeared to have no mass, as there was no edges of the screen. The screen was translucent and I could see through it. Small images would blink on the screen every half a second. Each time the image appeared, it would be the same image displayed on the screen, 100 images at the same time. I didn't recognize any of the symbols as being known to me. I then peered through the screen and saw 2 dark figures. They were standing in opposite corners of the room at the foot of my bed. The figures were no more than 4 feet tall and were covered in a shroud of shifting darkness, shadow. I felt a sense of fear come over me. It was dire fear. I remember looking over at my dog, who was sleeping on my bed with me, and feeling upset that the dog was still sleeping and not barking at the intruders or try to help me. I then yelled at the 2 intruders and told them, H-E double hockey sticks, no, I'm not allowing it, and I told them they had to leave immediately. I couldn't make out any facial features, but could see one of the intruders turn its head to the other one as if it was in shock of the fact that I had ordered them to leave. The blackness / shroud around them appeared to move rapidly or shimmer, as much as black fog can shimmer, and then they were gone. Immediately I had control of my body and could move again. I jumped up and turned the lights on and searched the room for the entities. I didn't find anything. I was visibly shaken by the experience, and it took me a few minutes to calm down and stop my body from shaking. I looked at the clock when I jumped out of bed, and it said 4:30 a.m. I remember being upset because I had to get up at 8 a.m. to get the turkey ready to go in the oven for Thanksgiving. And that's the end of the story. Ooh, I have always stated shadow people are related to alien abductions, and this is kind of a blend to show the two having similar things going on. Got technology, you got black mass and shadowy figures, and wearing the hood, though, does indicate more alienish, more of a solid entity, I should say. But shadow beings will be seen right alongside such creatures as well. So fascinating, fascinating. The next UFO sighting in Sacramento, California. This is a UFO blast from the past. This occurred November 6, 2015. In brief, the witness states it was around 10 p.m. I was on the phone with my boyfriend. We hung up. I decided to go to the store. I left my apartment and went to the store, got my items, and started walking out the door. Towards the stoplight, I looked up to the sky and saw the stars. Okay. I have to say, when I first glanced at this, I usually don't read ahead, but I glanced at the size of this report, and then I realized this person put absolutely no periods in this entire report. It is a giant monstrosity of a run-on sentence. Oh, except for putting a period after like 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. I'm not kidding you. Most times people just don't capitalize things and goof around with their wording, but this is going to be a doozy. So bear with me as I plan some breaths as I read this over 2-page long report with no periods. Okay, the witness goes into more detail and in one breath. It was around 10 p.m. on a Sunday night. It just happened to be the biggest meteor shower in history, they said on the news, and advised us to stay inside. I was on the phone with my boyfriend. We hung up. I decided to leave my apartment and go to the store. I forgot they said stay in the house. I walked to the store, got my items, and walked out the door, looked up in the sky, and noticed the stars looked strange. They were hovering as I was walking. I remembered, oh, there is a meteor shower, but I look to the side of the stars, and I noticed two objects hovering with a red light and a green light, and it was stationary, staggering. Hold on now. I don't recall there being a report to stay indoors because of a meteor shower in Sacramento. Anybody? Anybody? I don't know. Um, Staggering each other. I continued to walk towards the street light, and it was a red light. I stopped. I looked at the stars, and the stars turned black. They turned off. I thought that was really strange and got scared. I started to walk towards my apartment really quickly. And then the two staggering objects started to move in a straight line in the sky. As I got closer to my apartment, I said, "Oh, this is just an airplane." When I said that, I was getting closer to my apartment. It changed direction and started to come towards me. I thought nothing of it and continued to walk and look at the stars, and as I got closer to my apartment and near my swimming pool, the staggering objects with the red and green light flew towards me and jumped out at me in front of my face about 1 to 2 feet and hovered in the sky right above my right at eye level. I was terrified and noticed immediately it was an airplane. I screamed to the top of my lungs and started to run towards my apartment. I'm thinking the person meant that it wasn't an airplane, not it was. My apartment, screaming. When I started to run, the objects took off and flew around the building and landed on top of the apartment building where I was staying, apartment 137. When I got in my apartment, I stood in the middle of the floor, grabbed my Bible, and started to cry. And still there shaking for about 60 seconds, then I sat down. I was still extremely terrified. I heard a loud, terrible noise and shaking on my building like an earthquake, and the object took off up in the sky, and it left with a loud roar. I later on that night called my mother and my husband and then explained what I saw and couldn't get to sleep. My mother stayed on the phone with me The next day, I was taking some pictures.
When we go out to eat, we never agree on where to go.
I want burgers!
Pizza.
Tacos it is.
The one thing we do agree on is we all want unlimited high-speed data. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 lines with unlimited LTE data for just $100, period. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Offers require port and of number not currently active on T-Mobile network. During congestion, the fraction of customers using more than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds. Video streams at up to 40p. No tethering. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Because I was getting ready to leave, and I looked at the picture and noticed on the side of my picture in the doorway was an entity. It was tall, with a huge head, huge eyes, very thin metallic green color, and it was standing in my bathroom. The lights were out in the bathroom, but you can see it. It was in my photo, and it was just staring at me. It was around 10 o'clock p.m. on a Sunday night. It just happened to be the biggest meteor shower in history, they said, and advised us to stay inside. Okay, it sounds like this person is repeating themselves. I don't know why. Okay, repeat, and all the way down to the bottom, this person states, okay, that they are often seeing these things in photos, and they just show their eyes looking, so you have to look very well and zoom in. If I cannot attach the photos, please try to contact me. Please help. I will send these photos. Okay, that was an interesting one. Moving on, another UFO sighting in Buffalo, West Virginia. This occurred November 26, 2017. In brief, they state, bright solid star moves in a path, then fades away. They go on to state, I walked out of my parents' home after having dinner at roughly 6:40 p.m. While leaving, I looked up, facing the south. As I was getting in my car, I saw a very bright red star, almost orb-like, up in the sky. The object was moving slowly at a steady pace. At first I thought it could be the ISS or a low-orbiting satellite because of the 2 o'clock position moving east. There was the blinking of an airplane moving away. There was only one plane to be heard, jet noise. Again, the rate of speed was slow but constant. This lasted approximately 30 seconds. The object passed the roofline of the house, moving south to north. About 5 to 10 seconds after passing the roofline, the object appeared and had changed directions with a soft 90-degree turn west and ascended. As the object ascended, it faded for about a second. Then nothing. The jet engine noise and the airplane were still present when I looked back. I looked where the object was, and nothing. The next UFO sighting, Black Triangle sighting in Boulder, Colorado. This occurred November 24, 2017. String of lights that move quickly in flock of bird-like formation. In more detail, they state, taking my dog out to use the bathroom around 9:30 p.m. on the southeast side of the house, and I noticed this string of lights moving in a formation similar to a flock of birds. But it also moved like a school of fish, moving quickly through the sky, headed northwest direction. I thought it was some sort of Christmas lights, but the speed and movement of the objects pretty much shut that idea down. I couldn't keep my eyes off the object, trying to figure out what it was. The formation was mesmerizing. The next UFO sighting occurred in La Mesa, California, on December 15, 2017. In brief, hovering cigar-shaped bright light. In more detail, they state, I was driving to work today when I saw a massive cigar-shaped cigar-shaped bright white light hovering over East County, San Diego. I was driving east on Interstate 8 when I saw it. There was not a single cloud in the sky due to the high pressure that has been present in San Diego. I lost it as I was driving through Mission Valley because the southern mesas were blocking it out. When I drove out of the valley, and reached the top of the Montezuma Mesa, it completely vanished from the sky without a trace. I estimate that it was at least a half-mile across in length. That's a mothership. I saw this same object on October 26, 2017, from my balcony moving over the Pacific Ocean. I reported that sighting along with pictures of it earlier. I also have 2 short videos of it, too. The next UFO sighting, that was an incredible sighting. Woof. Okay. UFO sighting in Madeira Beach, Florida. This is a blast from the UFO past. This occurred March 9th, 2010. 2 glowing orbs, one following the other along shoreline. Suddenly, one vanished up and south, the next up and north. In more detail, at Madeira Beach, Florida, around March 9th, 10th, or 11th, 2009, 2010, or 2011. It was about 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was dusk, with a few scattered clouds. I was sitting on our porch overlooking the Gulf of Mexico. From the north, I saw 2 glowing orbs moving southward fairly slowly along the shoreline. My first thought was, some kid has a really cool remote-controlled toy. The 2 glowing objects appeared to be a couple of hundred yards apart. One appeared to follow the other and a few hundred yards above the shore. Each orb appeared to have a tiny red light near the top. These orbs made absolutely no sound. They were silent. As soon as the first orb was past our building, it took off upwards and to the south, vanishing almost instantly. Immediately, the second orb took off upwards and vanished to the north. Gone. Almost instantly. I had never seen anything like it. As I sat there wondering what on earth I had just seen, along came either 2 more identical orbs or the same ones. I don't know. Nevertheless, the same event repeated itself exactly between 5 and 10 minutes after the first event. Everything happened the second time exactly as it had the first time. Other people on the beach or sitting on their balconies must have also seen this happening. I put the whole incident out of my mind at the time. Yet, periodically, I wonder, what did I see? What was that? The next UFO sighting occurred in British Columbia. This happened July 7th, 2016. They say they thought it was Venus at first. In more detail, they state, I was looking out my bedroom window, as I do often, and wrestle with, are we alone? I saw what seemed to be a star. At first I thought it might be Venus, but it was too large to be Venus. Then, as if the people inside saw me, its big white light turned off. No airplane would be allowed to do that in mid-flight. What was left was a small red light that went over my house and disappeared from view. Behind some apartment behind my house is where it went. The next time I saw it, it was moving from east to west. It passed my field of view, and as it passed, its big white light went out like before. I have always believed that there were indeed other intelligent and advanced beings out there, and this just proved it for me. The next UFO sighting occurred in Sierra Vista, Arizona. This is a super-duper blast from the past. This occurred July 31st, 1976. A star made a triangular motion. In more detail, I must have been 12 or 13 years old around 1976. We lived in Sierra Vista, Arizona. The sky was always very clear out there. A buddy of mine and I were sitting in the back of my dad's truck, looking up and toward the west. A star began to move. It moved north to south in a straight line, then up to a center point above its first motion. then back to the original point of origin, making a perfect triangle. As I got older, I began to wonder if I had just imagined this. But 30 years later, I met my old buddy in Tampa one weekend. As we were reminiscing about our childhood, I asked him if he remembered sitting in my dad's truck one night, and before I could finish what I was about to say, he said, "We saw a star make a triangle." He went on to say he thinks about it too. The next UFO sighting happened in Litchfield, Maine, December 14, 2017. In brief, they say, thought it was a satellite until I saw it stop, hover, change direction, stop, hover, change direction, and do a small circle and stop. In more detail, I went outside about 7 p.m. to see how cold it was. And while I was outdoor, I remembered that a meteor shower was reported on the weather. So I decided to let my eyes get accustomed to the dark in hopes to see some meteors. I saw a bright moving light, a star-like object, and thought, oh, a satellite. As it was at that high altitude, I normally see a satellite, and I will watch that while I was there. I am very familiar with satellites. I have seen and tracked many over the years, and thought, gee, this one is so much brighter than normal of those I usually have seen. Object was moving from north to south on a slight angle. It got about what is that, any? Just above a pine tree. I used as a reference point, with no tree limbs obstructing my view, and the object stopped dead, hovered for a minute or so, then changed direction, 180 degrees to the north. It went a short distance, say about 2 inches or so in the sky, a decent distance that I could gauge, and stopped again, reversed again, 180 degrees, went about half the distance past the same path to the south, and stopped again. And then it did a small circle, say about a half-inch diameter, kind of wiggling as it went in the circle. It then continued on a path to the south and stopped. All the while I was watching, I could not believe what I was witnessing, and wished I had my phone. Once it stopped, I watched a minute or so, and since it was still, I ran inside to get my phone. My wife asked what was the problem, as I was almost running, and told her, "I'm watching a UFO. I want to get my camera." I had took notice of the position, using the pine tree as a marker. It was about 5 degrees above the tree, in a very clear sky. When I got back outside, no more than a minute, it was still in the same location, but perfectly still. It never moved again while I was watching for the next 5 minutes. Wife was probably rolling her eyes as I pointed it out to her. But it never moved again. After 5 minutes, and since it was about 14 degrees outside, I went back inside. While I was outside with the camera, I tried to record the object, in the event that it moved again, but I was unable to see anything on the video. I know what I saw. It moved, it stopped, hovered, circled, changed direction, moved a good distance across the sky. Well, a full show of UFO reports. Take that, Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, and any other skeptic out there. I thought it was very fitting to do a full UFO report show. So anyways, I want to thank you all for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Be sure to check out UFOheadlinenews.com every single day. And also tune into my other weekly shows, The Outlander, and I co-host on The Kevin Cook Show. Both are at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. My show is on Fridays, Kevin Cook Show Tuesdays. And catch my paranormal comic, The Outlanders. Direct links can be found at theoutlanderscomic.com or HeidiHollis.com. And you can always go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com to find absolutely everything. Remember to always keep an open mind so you can stay informed and inspired.
When we go out to eat, we never agree on where to go.
I want burgers! Pizza.
Tacos it is.
The one thing we do agree on is we all want unlimited high-speed data. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 lines with unlimited LTE data for just $100, period. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Offers require port of number not currently active on T-Mobile network. During congestion, the fraction of customers using more than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds. Video streams at up to 40p. No tethering. See store for details and terms.